Good morning. Thank you, Sarah, for the introduction. Good morning to you all, ladies and gentlemen. Global manufacturing, as it goes a rapid transformation, the need for agile, tech-enabled, and sustainable supply chains has never been more urgent nor more strategic. Today, Saudi Arabia and the United States stand at the forefront of this shift, not just as trading partners, but as co-creators of the next generation industrial ecosystems. From AI-driven production to green materials to precision engineering to localized logistics, we are witnessing, ladies and gentlemen, a redefinition of how goods are designed, made, and moved. This session brings together some of the companies leading this transformation, companies that sit at the intersection of innovation, energy, manufacturing, and mobility. Together, we'll explore how their supply chain strategies are enabling agility and scale, and where Saudi-US collaboration can unlock new frontiers of competitiveness. Let me first start by introducing to you our esteemed panelists, Sabah Al-Mutlaq, co-founder and vice chairman of Al-Fanar Group, Jim DeLuca, the CEO of SEER, Jerry Todd, head of National Development Division at the PIF, and Ken West, president and CEO of Honeywell Energy and Sustainability Solutions, and last but not least, Mark Winterhoff, the interim CEO of Lucid. Gentlemen, welcome. And let me start with this. I think this probably is the main question here. Global supply chains have undergone major shocks in the last 5 years or so. Started off by the pandemic. We've seen natural disasters, wars, accidents in main waterways, trade disputes, geostrategic tensions. This has necessitated a reshuffling of supply chains. What lessons from these recent global disruptions are informing your current strategies in constructing adaptable supply chains? Let me start with you, Jerry.
Thank you, Nasser. A lot has happened, and I think the development of those has confirmed, excuse me, the underpinnings of Vision 2030. If you think about what's happening in the economy today, there are three big things. The first is the industrialization of the economy, so replacing the import bill with local manufacturing. The second is building out the service economy at scale, so delivering the things people need, the experiences they need in country, rather than having people hop on a plane and go receive those somewhere else. And then the third is capturing the green shoring opportunity, so making sure that Saudi becomes a part of the global manufacturing footprint, leveraging the fact that we'll be one of the few places with long-term supplies of green energy that industry needs. And so for the first and third of those, industrialization and green shoring, building out domestic manufacturing capacity, deep local tech-enabled supply chains is really essential to that. So the volatility that's been happening confirms the need and the importance of doing that, but also the opportunity. And the fact that supply chains are at play today has accelerated a lot of the conversations that we've been happening with global partners. And what it means for US companies is this annual procurement relationship with Saudi as a destination for exports will be turning into a much deeper relationship as US companies come set up manufacturing here and become a permanent part of the fabric of the local economic ecosystem.
Jim, your thoughts on this?
Let me start first by saying what an honor it is to be here representing both the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as this is where I live and work, and the United States, as I am a citizen and have a home in metropolitan Detroit. The other thing I want to preface is that I've got 46 years in the automotive industry. I've lived and worked in countries around the world, and I can tell you there is nothing like what is going on here in the kingdom. Sear National Automotive Company is part of Vision 2030, and we like to say we're not just starting a car company, we are igniting an industry. Now, when it comes to the supply chain, I don't want to oversimplify things, but the nature of the business really dictates what you do and how you do it. To begin with, there are certain commodities that you don't want to ship around the world for one of two reasons. Number one, components that are big and bulky, think body subassemblies and chassis subframes, they need to be produced locally. The other subset are those products requiring customization. Think seats, instrument panels, exterior components that are painted. So we are partnering, as an example, with two US companies, Lear for all of our seating, and Javis for all of our external painted components. All told, we've got 5 global Tier 1 suppliers who are co-locating with us in King Abdullah Economic City. When you add the partnership Tier 2s that we are adding to support them, we've got about 45% of our bill of material localized, which is exactly what you would expect. The balance of the bill of material, you want to leverage that global supply chain. We go out with a techno-commercial analysis for every commodity that we bring in. It's the only way you can assure that you have the highest quality components at the best price. As an example, we're getting our e-drive units from Hyundai in Korea. We get to leverage the absolute scale of Hyundai, and in return, we get powertrains that are cost-effective, have a low weight, package really, really well, and are extremely efficient. So that's how we balance this need to utilize the global supply chain while at the same time localizing the part of the industry that must be localized.
Mark, how does it look from where you're sitting at Lucid? Is it the same view from where Sear is here in Riyadh?
To a wide extent, it's similar. But first of all, before I go into the supply chain question, first of all, I also wanted to say how honored I am to be here today with the esteemed panels here. And we actually are the first automotive company that decided to invest in a plant here in the kingdom. And we are really excited to be here, actually together with Sear, and I will elaborate in a second. We learned out of this, turmoil over the last 5 years, basically 3 things. First of all, it's about vertical integration. The second topic is about localization, and the third topic is around long-term stability. Why vertical integration? We made early on the decision to develop all of our key components in-house. That means that we are less dependent on the global supply chain because we actually can develop it ourselves, we produce it ourselves. We started that in the United States, in our plant in Arizona. We built all of our cars there. We built our drive units there, the major components of the powertrain, the battery packs and battery modules. So we are actually quite highly vertically integrated. Why is that important? If you run into supply chain constraints, as we have seen in the last couple of years, you can make changes yourself. Talking about rare earth materials and permanent magnets for our drive units. We have the ability, and we are actually redeveloping our drive units right now to consume less rare earth materials and therefore being less dependent. So that's the power of vertical integration. The second topic about localization. As I just mentioned, we are producing most of our key components first in the US, and now we're doing the same in our plant in King Abdullah Economic City, where we're currently building a full plant with 150,000 units of capacity. And we're doing this together with Sear. The 5 components that Jim just mentioned are also the components that we are localizing. And it's also the same, like what Jim just said. Some things you definitely want to localize, and others you want to have access to the global markets. And for that, coming to the third point, the stability. For that, you need stability, that you basically have regulatory environment, tariffs that you can rely on. That's also a reason why we made, as the first automotive manufacturer back in 2020, the decision to build a plant in the kingdom. Quite frankly, at that time, that was very unique. And we've been asked very, very often, why are you doing this? Why are you not building the second plant in China, as everybody was about to do at that time? And we already at that time thought, okay, things are going to change. There will be much more pressure and turmoil in China. And therefore, we made the decision here to really buy into the Vision 2030 and be a part of that vision.
Well, definitely, you've sidetracked now the tariffs at 145%. That's just been dropped to 30% on China. So good call there. Ken, both the US and Saudi Arabia are huge players in the energy space. They are as big as they come. What role does the ongoing energy transition and electrification play in driving the supply chain dynamics within the energy sector, your sector?
Well, absolutely, and I'd also like to reiterate my thanks for being able to be here and be part of such a historic event that we have today. As we take a look at the energy dynamics that are going on in the world, it's clear that the world is going to need more power tomorrow than it has today. We see reports from well-known sources like Bloomberg that state that energy demand is going to increase by more than 30% over the next 5 years, and with electrification demand increasing by more than 75%. So there's going to be a need for more as we take a look at the energy security of the world. And in doing that, with the importance that Saudi Arabia plays in energy, it's critical that we start right here. And that can be achieved really through 3 areas. The first area is improving the efficiency and maximizing existing energy sources. They're going to be needed to maintain the future, and that comes through things like connected plants that we do through a joint venture called Plant Digital, where we actually connect to existing infrastructure and make it more efficient. The second is working with transition fuels, such as our investment in LNG, that's going to help to augment that power. And lastly is going to be moving into new fuels like sustainable aviation fuel and other renewables. It's going to take all of those sources to be able to meet the world's energy demands. And as I take a look at the importance of the region here, I'm very proud of the fact that we've now scaled up more than 700 local employees, with half of those being Saudi nationals, in key positions in commercial, R&D, and other areas of investment as we work to meet those challenges of tomorrow.
Mr. Sabah, Al-Fanar plays a key role in building Saudi Arabia's power infrastructure, both as an EPC contractor and as a local manufacturer of grid components, high voltage direct current cables, equipment, and so on. As the kingdom scales up its power system to really power that industrial growth, how are you advancing localization of these components locally, and how is that contributing to the resilience of your supply chains?
Thank you for the question. I think it might be just touch on this same subject, is to look at Al-Fanar started their manufacturing initiative, the first one, maybe 30 years ago. And when we started, the electrification supply chain was almost zero in Saudi Arabia, that we had to import even steel boxes where we house the equipment. So we thought this is a good project to start. And what I would like to say here is that, which will reflect on the future, is that with the bundle of government initiatives and all the facilities which was provided to us, we were able to build an infrastructure and a supply chain in Saudi Arabia. Nowadays, we are producing high voltage DC equipment within the kingdom in Riyadh. And this is being supplied to maybe one of the most demanding grid in the area, which is the Saudi Arabia grid. This is going to be actually a model for all the grids. We are very proud that we were able to create the supply chain for all of these equipments all over those years. And this was basically due to what we got from what the government was able to put in place as a bundle for facilities for the investors. So this was a journey which I think could be suitable as something to follow for anybody who might be thinking about investing in, especially in the power sector, where everybody knows now it's going to have a huge expansion.
Moving back to the automotive sector, Jim, what sort of collaboration do you envisage between Saudi companies and American companies in that space?
Well, when you think about SEER as a startup, the only way we can get going quickly, efficiently, and sustainably is by partnering with the best of the best. And so in terms of the automotive industry, when you think about collaboration in the automotive industry, invariably you end up in the United States of America. So I'm proud to say that we are collaborating with 10 companies in the United States. We've already talked about Javis and Lear. The American companies benefit because we're utilizing their innovations, we're propelling their job growth. We benefit because we get the technologies that we need and the parts that we need to get moving quickly. But collaboration just doesn't mean business deals. One of our focuses is on human capital development. And in partnership here with the Ministry of Industry and the Ministry of Education, we have kicked off a cooperative education program with Kettering University in Flint, Michigan. As a Kettering grad, I know the power of their cooperative education program. We have 43 of the best and brightest technical engineering graduates now in Flint, Michigan, undergoing a curriculum created just for us in battery electric vehicle technology. The students will spend 6 months at Kettering, and then they'll move to one of the Tier 1 suppliers that we've already talked about in the Detroit area, the automotive capital of the world, and they'll work either at Javis or Lear or one of our other suppliers for 6 months. And then they'll come back to us ready to hit the ground running in their respective areas of the business. So this is how our partners, Kettering University, our supply base, they're helping us build tomorrow's leaders today. So it's collaboration across the board.
Mark, workforce development, really essential, right, for resilient supply chains?
Yeah, absolutely essential for us here in the kingdom. Obviously, the plant that we're building here will have 150,000 of capacity, which is our largest plant. So therefore, we need local people. And we are very active in developing this. Actually, would like to point out, as of today already, more than 65% of our employees here in the kingdom are Saudi nationals. And we are increasing this percentage all the time. We are collaborating with HRDF on a program where we are, training people for the plant in AMP2, which were in Cake. And those people, they come for 6 months also to the US in our plant in Arizona. They get trained, and after they get trained, then they come back here into the kingdom. Beyond that, we have a cooperation with NAVA, the National Academy, Automotive and Vehicle Academy, where we also have those transfer programs where people come over to the United States to train. But then it's not only bringing people from Saudi to the United States, but it's also the other way around. We recently signed a cooperation with KAUST, with the university. And we are bringing our brightest engineers over here to work with KAUST on leading edge technology topics, be it autonomous driving, AI modeling, simulation, crash testing, all of those things that are really, really crucial for the automotive industry, and have our engineers come here to work with the local leading university to develop this talent here locally. So it's very important for us, and we're investing heavily.
Ken, how can joint ventures in the energy sector support advancing localization, particularly in Saudi's case?
Yeah, absolutely. Joint ventures are a way that we can accelerate the speed of development. So as we think about our localization initiatives, by having strong partners like we do in our plant digital joint venture with Aramco, we're able to get real customer insights, be able to understand what their needs are, and develop very dedicated training programs for the localized workforce that is able to meet those customer needs as they develop solutions. So much like what Mark is doing at Lucid, we're able to partner with multiple local universities to do training right here in the region, along with allowing engineers to come over to our US capabilities and labs and train there to come back and take the latest and greatest knowledge into their local facilities.
Jerry, coming back to you, from smart industrial zones to logistics hubs, what role does the PIF play in enabling the digital infrastructure, which is going to be, extremely important, that infrastructure, the computing power needed for agile, tech-enabled supply chains? How is it that you go about bringing that technology and diffusing it locally?
Thank you. Deep local tech-enabled supply chains are the ultimate goal. PIF is a dual mandate investor, so we invest for financial return, and then we also invest to drive the economic diversification of the economy. And we do that in part by setting up OEMs at the end of the value chain that in their own right need to be successful. They need to meet the needs of their customers. But they're also a catalyst to bring in supply chains over time. And so in order to do that, we work with our partners across government and the private sector to create the right enabling environment for those supply chains to be successful. So we look at talent-related issues. Mark mentioned NAVA, which is the National Automotive Vehicles Academy, which took in its first cohort of 210 students in October. This was from 28,000 applicants. We also work on policy-related efforts. So the King Salman automotive cluster has been set up as a special economic zone with a variety of tax and other incentives in order to make it easier to do business there. There is a major transportation and logistics upgrading that's happening across the kingdom, being led by the ministry. And we also put capital to work to accelerate the development of local supply chains. So we have a vehicle called Tusaru, which invests in the mobility ecosystem. Now, given the direction of travel for global manufacturing, increased automation means that cost of capital, access to clean energy, and kind of business-friendly policies in the right G2G trade environment are essential. And we think Saudi is very well positioned for that. Again, to accelerate the development of that infrastructure, we're working with partners such as Google and Amazon and others to set up data centers. There was a large announcement for a large initiative yesterday called Humane,
Of course.
which I think you'll be hearing a lot about over the course of this day, which is another vector for accelerating the development of the infrastructure that businesses need.
Mr. Sabah, AI-powered industrial production can't happen without that digital infrastructure. Al-Fanar is involved in constructing and building data centers across the kingdom. How do you see that space evolving?
Yes, the Al-Fanar, yes, we are involved in data center. We are building data centers in the kingdom. Of course, this is a field where Saudi Arabia very fit for that. It's mainly because of the availability of energy in competitive prices, and the kind of regulation which is being put by the government also encourage very much of localization. We are also very much involved on the other side, which is supplying the power need for the infrastructure, for the data center infrastructure. It's well known that the data center, normally this industry is very much energy hungry. So one of the main things which we are building our supply chain in Saudi Arabia is to cater for that. With many of our initiatives actually with our American friends. We are already producing with HP servers made in Saudi Arabia, and incidentally it is made by almost 100% female workers. We are also building power modules with Vertiv in Riyadh, also in the industrial area in Riyadh. We are also one of the main suppliers for the infrastructure which is being built in Saudi Arabia to cater for the data center.
In an energy-hungry sector, but where better to be than in the energy kingdom?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, what we've heard today underscores that resilient supply chains are not just a defensive necessity, it's a strategic asset for industrial growth and global competitiveness. Thank you very much to my panelists, and thank you, our audience.